One of my DMs, this anonymous person, said, I was telling my spouse how if a family in our parish lost someone to apostasy, it was very embarrassing and not talked about. He said, that fact alone is enough to call it a cult. I wish this was tea. One purpose of these videos, like I said before, was to lay context to the rest of my story. A lot of people don't understand the type of environment that I grew up in because it's so strange and far from the normal experience of people day to day. So I wanted to give some ideas. Obviously, I was focusing on some of the more stranger elements, not only because it's very good for a video, but also because these were things that happened all the time and things that we just put up with. And it would be rather lazy and dishonest for me to just say, oh, it was because of the previous community that I, one, lost the faith, and two, left the priesthood. So the environment was definitely key to the person that I became and the person that I am today. In a later video, I'm going to talk about the fact that I do appreciate some of the things from my past, and I do appreciate the person that I am today. And that's honesty. But of course, I can't put my whole life into one video. So I'm starting with different elements and seeing where it goes. Will I be emphasizing the negative? Yes, I will. But I won't be exaggerating the negative. I'm focusing on the negative because it does have its part to play. And as a Catholic, I was taught to overlook the negative, to bear the negative, to take the negative upon my back like Jesus Christ and carry it to heaven and use these people that were surrounding us as our ways of finding salvation, of offering a sacrifice. All of these bad situations, all of the persecutions within the community, to use all of that for the glory of God and to be silent. That's what we were taught, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to speak, and I'm going to, as much as it helps my story, explain my past and explain my experience. So one very interesting thing that I saw within people, and I actually saw within myself at certain moments, was this air of superiority. The congregation that I was a part of, if you didn't see the previous video, was a traditional Catholic congregation. Basically, in the 60s, there was a change in the Catholic Church, and some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Who didn't like it decided to create their own offshoots of Catholicism and continue that more traditional way of approaching the religion. So that's the type of congregation that I was a part of and eventually became a priest in. We were taught in the seminary that our role as priests especially was to preserve this true faith, so that one day in the future, whenever that would be, the church as a whole, the modern church, would realize that they're wrong and come running to us in order to find the truth, and we would graciously give it to them. That type of idea would give people all the ammunition to be full of arrogance and pride and think that they are the shit. So in the community, you had some people who just wanted to go to church. You had people who, usually with families, they wanted to involve themselves more in a community life because they wanted their children to be around other good children and kind of reinforce the values that they believed in, which is a good thing. You don't want your children to be learning bad things from bad children. So I understand that. And then you had the people who believed that they were God's soldiers sent to this earth so that they could save the earth from the fires of perdition. Out of all the tendencies that I saw within people, which is normal, people have their character flaws. I have plenty. The one that was very prominent within this community, and especially amongst the priests, was arrogance. They were the most important people in the whole world. This is coffee. It's not tea, but let's pretend it's tea. One day, Francis, when he was 18 years old, he decides that he wants to go to college. And where does he go? Decided to go to a small town in the middle of nowhere, Midwest, with the same congregation. Except here, there was more of a thriving community. And from what I heard from the priests, and especially the older priests, that type of city situation where the majority of the people were part of this traditional Catholic group, and the life of the city was basically around the religion, that was the ideal. In one video, I'll talk about the good things. I think there are very good things about these people and how some of them actually did live out their beliefs. But the things that I heard, and that I experienced for 2 years, but some of the things that I heard behind the scenes from people really disturbs me. And I think that no matter what good comes out of it for this one family or this person, there's so much bad, especially in the way that people considered marriage. Of course, the girls were all prepared in their studies to go to college maybe, but for the most part to get married. That was their role. Their role was to be a mother. If they became a nun, it was like, okay. There was an obvious break in the way that they acted. The ones who were set more towards a religious life, they would dress like they were already a nun. They acted very secluded. And these are people that were in college with me, and they didn't go to parties. They didn't, it's almost like they were already living that way of life. And that was what the expectation was. With the ones who were more boy crazy, I guess you could say, they went crazy. I think the parent generation, the ones who maybe were closer to the founders of this town, they were more headstrong in the idea and the ideal of the town, but the children were very rebellious. A lot of children were rebellious. There was a lot of underage drinking. There was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of unplanned pregnancies. And there were a lot of young people getting married because of unplanned pregnancies. I worked with somebody who was not a member of this religious organization, but lived in the town. And they were surprised that I was a member of that religious organization because I treated her like a human being, even though she wore pants. So one of the most disturbing things that I heard about that particular town happened within the family. And I will leave it up to you to decide exactly the root of these actions, but it's very interesting to see on the one hand, this overly emphasized traditional mentality and these results that happen within the family. There's so many cases of abuse within the family. So whether that is father to daughter, father to son, brother to sister, or even husband to wife. Husband to wife. How does that work? They're married, so obviously it's okay. There's this idea that I was taught in the seminary. Sometimes it will be necessary to explain to a woman what exactly is their role in the family. because marriage is the union of two people and giving the rights of your body to the other person. If the husband wants to be intimate with their wife and the wife doesn't want to, it's not only the wife's body anymore. She gave it up in marriage. So the woman is presented with that fact that it's not her body. Actually, they put a supernatural, a spiritual twist on having sex with your husband when you don't want to, which is that you are offering up a sacrifice. You're pleasing your husband even if you don't want to have it, even though you feel bad. It's a sacrifice to God. So backward, so wrong on so many levels. So many levels. Imagine the woman in that position and being told that by a priest. And also because the men of that community have a very twisted sense of masculinity, for the most part. Not everybody. I feel like I have to say that with everything. Everything that I say does have exceptions. But there are many cases of men who are physically abusive to their family. That's a subject that I am not an expert about, but I've just presented to you that it's very common. The type of abuse that happens within those families is common, and it surprised me to hear which families, because they were families that I looked up to. You have these Christian principles, these Catholic principles, and then you have the idea that you are, as a community, the saviors of the world. Mix that together and you have a very awkward societal structure. And it's very harsh, inorganic. And when you're in it, it's hard to say. You just put up with it. You just accept it. It's like being in a bad relationship. There's so many things that you just put up with because you only want to see the good. Within my community, there are hundreds of priests who have left. Somebody told me that nearly half of the priests within my community have left. It's very interesting. I don't know if anybody has seen the movie The Village. It's a favorite of mine, if I do say so myself. It's from M. Night Shyamalan. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce his last name, but it's a good movie. So this group of hippies builds a compound, basically, in the middle of the woods, and they create this artificial structure that is totally free of any modern advancements in technology, nothing. It's like walking into the past, like Little House on the Prairie. These families just have children, grow up, have very simple way of life, and it's simple, it's beautiful. I enjoy looking at that way of life and seeing how great it is when you don't have to look at Twitter every day. And there's a scene where this girl comes into contact with the modern world. It doesn't seem right to do that to anybody, to force them to be in that type of situation. It's good to have principles. It's good to create a manageable structure, but to force your situation to be something that is purely idealistic is to live in a fantasy. And it only hurts the people that are involved, especially the innocent ones, the ones that don't understand what they're doing. Just food for thought. So I want to hear what you all have to say. What is your conclusion after hearing all of this? Maybe you've been in a similar type of community. I hope within the next few videos to talk about how Catholicism has actually benefited my life, and I'm happy with the formation that I received, and I'm happy with the person that I am today, which is an honest part of the story. But leave your comment down below. Do you have any other experiences? What do you think about everything that I've said? And any video ideas, anything, please leave them down below. Like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. And the second that I upload a video, it'll pop up in your recommendation. And I also have Instagram, and I write every day a new post, a new excerpt, and Facebook and Twitter. I have a Twitter too, and it's all I Am Judas Project. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping by, putting up with my talking, my bad microphone. I hope that it was interesting. Let me know what you think. Peace.